All right, we're a dark contrast from what the world is doing and how they live. And today is a very, very practical lesson in how to live the Christian life. This is a metronome, and right here is a pace where many of us in this room are trying to keep right now. You are busy. And you are active, and you know that a pace like this is not healthy. You know it's not healthy for you physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's not healthy. A pace like this can do a lot of damage in a relationship. It can do a lot of damage in a home. And would it surprise you to know that that's not the pace God was really hoping for you? He knows it's a busy world, but He was hoping at times you would be more here and present with Him. It's a story that if you've spent any time in church, you know today's story really well. I'm wondering if I can surprise you maybe with some different things to look at. It's the story of Mary and Martha. And Martha was the fast pace. Mary has learned somehow to slow down and to spend some time with Jesus. And that's what this is really about today. Anytime Jesus Himself puts a mirror up in front of us and says, hey, wait, now there's a contrast here. I need you to look at yourself. He does this for Martha. This is an attention-getting moment, but it translates thousands of years to where you and I are. Both women loved Jesus. Both women knew Jesus. One is going to be totally in the house with Jesus, but the other one is going to be present with Jesus. Some of you even this morning, you're in the house here with Jesus, but you're not exactly present with Him. Mary will find herself in the presence of the Son of God. Martha just shared the same house. One seems to have peace. The other one is just going to start unraveling before us. Let me move over to this other microphone. That has been fighting us all morning, so... One is going to be really productive by worldly standards, but she is miserable and angry, and bitterness is starting to grow. The other one is going to be very unproductive by the world's standards. By some in the world, she's even going to be wasting her time sitting with Jesus. And yet she's going to be the one who's going to be elevated by Him. She's going to discover this peace in her life. I'm wondering how many of us in this room really needed this moment. This is a very practical lesson in Scripture. It's not deeply theological. There's no hidden meanings here. There's no surprise twist. It's not a complicated lesson. And yet many of us are not doing the one thing that we need most from this passage. Sermons through the years, it's just been simple. Be less like Martha, be more like Mary. And as much as I want it to bring something totally different than that, I find myself there a little bit. And when I was so focused on what did you all need to hear, suddenly I got this hit on the side of my head. Ron, are you listening to me right now? And it was a surprise text for me. So Jesus is in Mary and Martha's house. Both of them lived there. The house is very, very active at this moment because Jesus showed up with His disciples. Martha is busy serving. Mary is busy listening to Jesus. You can almost hear the disciples at this moment. Hey, can we get a cup of coffee here? And Mary goes, not from me. You get my sister Martha. I'm going to listen to Jesus. And the looks that she must have got. If the disciples didn't give her the look, Martha certainly does. So here's the story. It's found in Luke chapter 10, short story, verse 38. As Jesus and His disciples came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to Him, she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what He said. Now, I know you've heard this before, but for our newcomers, in ancient times, a woman would not have been invited to sit at the feet of a popular rabbi. That would have been a position for only men. And so Jesus is being very revolutionary here, almost shocking. The disciples seeing this moment unfold must have gone, what is he doing? This isn't the first surprise. They caught him sitting at a well with a woman and talking with her. Jesus is constantly raising our evaluation of a woman's worth, our respect for a woman. He's constantly calling us up to a higher level. But here in this moment, she is just sitting there. And I know we've read that over and over again, and it doesn't surprise us. But in ancient times, when ancient Jews heard this, they would have had to just be wagging their head. Jesus allowed that. He welcomed it. Come close. So it's a really special moment for Mary and for Jesus. But somebody doesn't like it. Verse 40. But Martha was distracted by all the preparation that had to be made. She came to Jesus and she said, Lord. Now, first of all, that's a pretty good beginning. But then she's going to rip into him. Don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. All right, it tells us that Martha was distracted. There's a bunch of us in the room right now. We didn't just walk away from Jesus, but we were distracted from him. It's part of the thing that Satan loves to do. You sang today a song just 2 songs ago that said, nobody can pluck me from his hand. That's a scripture. Nobody takes us out of the hand of Jesus. But Satan distracts us from his hand. Just starts throwing distractions at us. And one distraction after another can pull us away from our time with him. And that's what happens here. And sometimes I'm a victim of distraction. Then Martha even takes it a little bit further in all of her anger and bitterness and frustration. She gets offensive a little bit. Don't you care, Jesus? Which I can't even imagine having the audacity to say to Jesus, don't you care? The one who cares most about me, and you don't care about me. Boy, I bet you Jesus is really going to tear into her. I bet he's going to let her have it good. Here, no, that's not what happens. Our Savior comes in very tenderly, saying her name twice. Verse 41, Martha, Martha. It's a beautiful thing. It's such a God moment because when God was talking to Moses, Moses, he said. When God was talking to Abraham, he doubling up on the name. And that's why I said this week, Ron, and you, if God was talking to you right now, he would call you tenderly 2 times just to really pull us in and get our attention well. Yeah, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things. Oh, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. I'm not going to let anyone take this moment away from her. She desires to sit at my feet, and I desire to have her, that I'm going to protect this moment. I'll protect her even from her own sister if I have to. So Jesus puts up this mirror. This is who you are. This is who I want you to be, but this is who you are right now, and you're worried and anxious about many. Here's the contrast. Which one looks more like you today? And it's answered simply. Maybe you're like, I'm not worried about anything. Yeah, but are you having private time with Jesus? Are you having small little moments with just you and Jesus, no one else? Or has the distractions and the pace of this life pulled you away? And if you stay on that pace, you're going to unravel like Martha did. You will unravel. And it's not that time with Jesus changes the pace of life. Life is hectic. It's just going to stay that way. The whole world is a hectic place to live in. It stays that way. But when I take my time to just sit with Jesus, something amazing happens. My pace of life doesn't change, but suddenly I'm more in tune with how to navigate the pace of life. I'm more ready for the hecticness of life. I'm stronger for that pace because I took my time with him first. And so, in our desire to serve and to help all of us in a special way. Inside this story is this amazing moment where Martha was in the house, but Mary took time to be in his presence. Martha was under the burden of service, but Mary was basking in the company of Jesus. And Jesus said, I need you to be more like Mary right now. Martha has a disease that many of us in the room have. It's a complicated disease. It's spelled Marthaplexy, and it's pronounced Marthaplexy. And some of us in this room have Marthaplexy. All right? In fact, we're going to start up a little group after today, little support group. Everyone with Marthaplexy, come to, we're shocked to town. They're like, I didn't hear the sermon. I don't know what Marthaplexy is, but I feel like I should go. That's what will happen. What is Marthaplexy? What are the symptoms of Marthaplexy? You're overbusy, you're overworried, you're losing sleep, you have an inability to relax, you have lost your smile, you can't remember the last time you giggled. And you're just stretched out. And what has happened with Marthaplexy is you're so active and busy that you have failed to get the one thing everyone needs most for you, and that is a you that spends time with Jesus. The one thing your marriage needs most is a you who spends time with Jesus. The one thing parenting needs most is a you who spends time with Jesus. The one thing your neighbors need, the one thing your coworkers need, the one thing your employees need is a you who spends time with Jesus. It shapes you and changes everything. It does not remove the hectic pace of life, but it allows you to take a breath and slow down and to get this strength from Him, this time with Him. We're so plugged in. We're always plugged in. The gadgets are always on. You're taking calls. You're emailing. You're texting. You're tweeting. You're Instagramming. You're Facebooking. It just never gets turned off. And even though you're connected to the whole world, you can't connect with the person next to you. And you're disconnected and you're distracted. And that's why more and more families are going to these device-free dinners. Leave your phone in the other room. Forget it. Come here. Just sit with the family. And even as I say that, some of you just had a meltdown. You're like, what? Not have my phone with me? What if there's an emergency? Leave it. Just put it away. Some are having gadget fast where they, for an entire day, I'm going to shut it all down. I'm not going to be on Facebook. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm not there either. But when I get there, it will be awesome to be able to just shut all that down. Here, Jesus is saying to Martha, I wish you'd just shut it all down. It's not that dishes aren't important. That's not what he's saying. It's not that what you're doing isn't valuable. Nowhere in here is Jesus saying, oh my goodness, Martha, you just don't get it. That's not what he's doing. He's just saying, I wish you'd just slow down long enough to just you and me so we could talk, so we could just spend some time together. Marthaplexy. What's going on if you stay in Marthaplexy too long? You're going to lose your first love. Revelation chapter 2, verse 2. This is Jesus saying to the church at Ephesus, I know how hard you're working. Oh my goodness, your work is awesome. But I have this one thing against you. You have forsaken your first love. You have forsaken your first love. All right, what does it mean when he says first love? You remember your first love? Come on, it's okay. I know you're sitting there maybe with a spouse. It's all right. It wasn't her. We know that. My wife's in the room. She knows. My first love in this whole world was a young lady named Sharon. It was my first date and my first love, and took her to the movie Grease, opening weekend. And afterwards, I was so nervous. You want to go out to eat? No. How about just go through a drive-thru, get a milkshake? I said, yeah, absolutely. And I pulled into McDonald's and I gave my order at the trash can. I was just so nervous, Thought I was so much in love, but then that love faded and it was just puppy love, and I didn't discover real love until I was with Bonnie. And then our first love, and trying to recapture that and keep that in our life. And then when we first got married, and the joy of just being first married, and then first child comes along, and how exciting first child is. You remember first child? How excited you were for first. The bottle falls on the floor. You pick it up with tongs. You go over. You boil it for 3 days because there can be no toxins on. But by the time the third and fourth child comes along, you see the baby's crying and the bottle's laying there where a cat's licking it, and you just pick it up, you wipe it off, and plug it in. Where did the excite? By the way, that has nothing to do with my sermon. I'm just venting a little bit here. The joy, the excitement of, and Jesus here at the church at Ephesus says, "Wow, you really got Martha-plexy because you're so busy. You're doing great work, and your work is important, but you've lost your first love." And by the way, I keep saying lost, and that's not even the wording there. You've forsaken. We always talk about lost. We lost our first. That's not the right translation. The better translation is you've forsaken it, which means you walked away from it. It wasn't one big giant step. You didn't wake up one morning and say, "Jesus, I don't have time for you. That's it. It's over." No, it was a series of distractions. It was a series of moving away until all of a sudden now, even as I'm talking, you can't even remember the last time you had a morning devotion time with Jesus. You have no memory of it. I was wondering if you would go on a journey with me. Between now and Easter, I'm going to dive into a little short gospel of Jesus, the Gospel of Mark. It's only 16 chapters long. And between now and Easter, I'm just going to dive into it just for a few stories, just a third of a chapter a day. Just a third of a chapter. So that means by next Sunday, you will have accomplished 2 chapters. It's only 16 chapters long, so I think I've spread it out pretty good all the way to Easter. But you and I maybe go on a journey together where we're just going to start each day, before we do anything else, get up, put that Bible right there on the counter in the kitchen. If you need your coffee, grab it, but just open it to the Gospel of Mark and spend just a minute reading a few verses, just a third of a chapter. And then carry that with you that day. Jesus, what do you want me to learn from this? What do you want me to get out of this? Where are you taking me? And just, you and I, let's do this together all the way to Easter and see what happens. Because if I'm not careful, Martha-plexy has moved me away from Jesus, and that's not healthy for me. It's not what my family needs most out of dad and a husband. They need a dad and a husband who spends time with Jesus. And so I want to get back to that, and I'm inviting you to go with me. If an airplane's going down, it has 4 engines, and 3 of the engines have burned out. 3 of the engines are gone. There's only 1 engine left, and it's not enough to keep us at altitude. We're slowly going down. What do you want that pilot worried about? Do you want him worried about the food service in the back? Hey, maybe we ought to serve some people some snacks. Is that what you want him worried about? Do you want him worried about the schedule? Well, we are definitely not going to make schedule today. Do you want him worried about your comfort? I know we're going down, but maybe we should pass out some pillows and some blankets. Make sure everybody's comfortable. Is that what you want? Or do you want him worried about one thing, getting those engines started? Just get that thing going. If it's me, I just focus on the one thing, get those engines started again. And today, I think that's the whole point of the Mary and Martha story, is one made a better choice. She made a higher choice in her life. And it wasn't that what Martha was doing wasn't valuable. It was important, but there was something higher. And I need to get those engines, that love engine, started again for spending time with Jesus. And I'll bet what your pastor needs today is what you need. It's the one thing my family needs most from me. It's the one thing my friends need most. It's the one thing my neighbors need most. Even when I just walk into Walmart, it's the one thing they all need most, is Ron, who has spent time with Jesus. Still a hectic world, but I need him. You know what? I think this is why we sing together. Give me Jesus. In the morning when I rise, and then the song repeats, in the morning when I rise. In the morning when I rise, give me Jesus. You can have this whole world, but give me Jesus. And when I am alone, when I am alone, give me Jesus. You can have this whole world, take it, but I need Jesus. And then there's that haunting verse. And when I come to die, that's a journey we're all on. And when I come to die, give me Jesus. Yeah. I'm inviting you to go on a journey with me. There's a contrast today. You can be more like Martha or more like Mary. It's your call. But those of us who desire to be more like Mary, we got to get the priority of Jesus back first. He's first in our life. He's my first love. And it's what they all need most from me, is that I get that priority straight.